welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. My name is David Warburton, and as ever, I am joined by my colleagues, Ian Storey, and he nearly said Ian Kendall. Ian Storey and James Kendall.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, you never know. Strange things have happened. Anyway, lads, let's get to it. How has your week been, JK?
Yeah, much improved, actually. On the 17th of the month, we were on one sale. And now we are on 10 sales for the best part of 110 grand worth of pipeline, which is an absolutely amazing place to be considering where we were. Yeah, lots going on. Really positive. Yeah, I'm conscious we've got a lot to pack in this week, and we're limited for time. So that's my week. How has yours been, Ian? Ian Kendall.
Well, I'm still in Mallorca, back on Saturday.
No way.
And Phil was away until the start of this week. So in terms of new listings, nothing since we spoke last week. Basically, I'm nurturing a few, and I know Phil is doing the same. But I'm not concerned by that at all. In terms of sales, 2 in the pipeline so far this week. 1 a 325er, 1 a 600er, and then we've got an offer on one that we've got on at 1.5. So in the last 2 weeks, we've definitely sold one at 1.3, hopefully one at 1.5. Although the offer came in at 1.4, proceedable. They've gone to 1.5, but now they've got a house to sell. So, although it is on the market, like a little new building type one, so hopefully it should go. So no, all good, really, all good. Really looking forward to getting back to it and getting stuck into September next week.
And Dave
Storey. Well, in contrast to you, JK, I started the month flying. 4 sales in the first few days, and this month has turned into an absolute shit show. 6 fallers. Fallers. I'm almost high-fiving the team every time a faller comes in at the moment. It's like, yes, another one.
Agency.
Yeah, another one's gone. Woohoo! Another day, another faller. So yeah, the highs and lows of state agency. So we had a terrible month on fallers. Ridiculous, in fact, worst for a very, very long time. But on the flip side, we've agreed some great sales that have massively propped us up. So obviously we've spoken about this in the past. If in the past where I've just had the Resi brand, that would be a complete and utter disaster for us. It really would be quite depressing. But because we've got the other brand as well, where obviously fees are a lot higher, things like that, we've actually had, it's not been too bad. It's not been too bad at all. We've agreed 4 very good sales for great fees. And I'm just looking at my pad now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're negging on another 6, which have all got great fees. So, and all of them. In fact, I tied one up last night at 885,000, 2% fee. So, there's some good stuff going on. So I'm not too depressed about it. It's just the life of an estate agent, isn't it? So one of those things. I've been to some fantastic valuations. Met a great guy. I popped it on the group the other day. Didn't I, about the guy who's got the Grand Designs house?
Yeah.
So I've had some really good meetings this week. Loads of stuff booked in. Loads of hot clients as well I've been to see. So yeah, all is good really. It's just been a bit of a roller coaster month and a bit disappointing, but we keep going, don't we?
That's what we do. So I think this week is going to be fairly packed pod, and I think we all agreed that we were going to talk about why people fail when they start out. And there's a lot of people that make the jump into self-employment. There's a lot of people that decide to start their own business, and where they go wrong, and where we can help on this podcast about putting them straight, because we've all done similar things. We've all jumped ship. We've all started our own businesses. We've all gone from thinking the internet revolution was going to be £999, low fixed fees, high volume, and how wrong we were.
I think this has come as well, JK, because we obviously get approached by people who are in this position where they have either gone self-employed or are starting out as a business, and they're sort of saying, I'm struggling to get listings, or struggling with cash flow, things like that. And I think there is a harsh truth to be told, isn't there? There's a harsh reality to it. There is no silver bullet. And I think people do sometimes come out of employed roles or join the industry on the back of seeing other people's successes, or being told by certain companies that you don't have to have experience, and you can come in and do. And to be quite honest with you, it's nonsense. Many people I've seen over the years go into this without any experience whatsoever, thinking that they can do it as a side hustle almost alongside the family. It's just not the way. I think if you are highly experienced and you want to do this in a part-time way, it can be done. You can sell a few houses a year and make a reasonable living from it. But I think if you're starting out and you've got no name and things like that, there is an awful lot of graft that goes into it. And unfortunately, there needs to be a certain level of investment. And I think that obviously we've been approached many times, like I say, from people that are looking to make the leap. And we feel like, I think we've been there. We can add some value. We've all been in employed roles before and made the jump. And I think we're qualified to basically answer a lot of people's questions. I think this is obviously where the podcast idea came from, just to see if we can help people out there who are thinking about going self-employed or opening their own estate agency, or are currently in that position and struggling to generate business.
Well, the bottom line with the TCA is that it's what we're doing on the podcast is giving everything away for free. So if you listen to all of our podcasts, we will tell you exactly what to do, how to be successful. What we sell is the implementation. So, for any avoidance of doubt, what is the complete agent? We will sell you the implementation and give you the support. That is as simple as what it is.
You've got to do it.
Exactly. Exactly. You have to do the work. And I was just going to say, I can speak from a point of view where, I've learned from my own failures, but also equally, I have one partner agent that works with me, very successful. And I've had a total of 4 partner agents throughout the last 6 years. So I've actually kind of adopted that model in my business, and I've had a 50% success rate. Various reasons why other people don't work here, but the bottom line is I've had 2 successful partner agents and 2 failures. And the 2 successful ones have, as you just alluded to there, Ian, they've both done the work. They've done the work. There is no shortcuts. There is no, and again, it might sound harsh saying this, and it probably will be controversial or unpopular, but I don't care because it's the truth. You can't sit there on Facebook just doing advice videos and expect a phone to ring, because no one cares. If no one's looking at your Facebook page and you're not doing the work and posting them into the group, because great, do advice videos, but post them out there and put them into the universe. Put them into Facebook groups, share them into different places where people are actually going to see them. People don't need to see them on estate agency groups. No one cares. They need to be in the local groups. But the bottom line is, telling people how to do a viewing when you've got no houses on the market, you've got no credibility.
The worrying thing about having no houses on the market is that you at least 3 months off being paid anything, aren't you? And that's if you got the rest today.
At least, yeah.
154 days average at the moment,
5 months. So these people that we're speaking to who would love to join the TCA but can't afford it, in inverted commas, because of cash flow, are potentially a year away from starting the business and getting any sort of money in whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing that people need is a house to sell. Now that sounds obvious, doesn't it? But you need to go and get a house to sell. So however you do that, that's what you need to do. And if putting out Facebook videos isn't working, then you need to do something else. And what I did at the very start of Stories was door knocking. So I used to go and door knock other agents. I mean, I don't know why that isn't obvious to people, but if you've not got any houses to sell all day, you should be going out door knocking.
Yeah, the thing is, Ian, it is obvious. People don't like rejection and don't want to do it.
Cool. Well, you don't be an estate agent then.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, I've been in 22 years and it's having every day. Yeah, don't be an estate agent. You need to go out. You need to go out and stand in front of people who are selling their house now, doing a Facebook video, or these are the methods, sending letters out. If that isn't working, then you need to go and get in front of people. And the best way is to go and knock on the door. Now, if you're good enough, you will be able to generate some listings off the back of that. If you're not good enough, maybe you're not good enough.
Yeah. There's two things, though, knocking on doors. There's two tips here. The first one is what you say on the doorstep. Now, there's lots of different things that fly around in the industry about what you should say to people. But the reality is, you need to introduce yourself as an agent in the area and say, how's it going with selling your house? You need to talk about them selling their house. Saying you've got frozen peas in the boot, in my opinion, isn't necessarily going to work. I think if you're starting out in the business, I've got another valuation round the corner. Well, there's nothing on your website.
No, don't bullshit. Don't bullshit.
No.
What I did was I knocked on the door and said, first of all, I knew how long the house had been on the market because I checked it on Rightmove. By the way, guys, you've got this thing called an iPhone in your pocket and it tells you everything you ever need to know. So you can find out when they bought it, what they paid, how long it's been on the market, who it's on with, have it changed agents because you can go on Rightmove Plus, etc., etc. So you knock on the door and you say, hello, I'm Ian from Storey. I've just started an estate agency. How's your house sale going? I can see it's been on 3 months. Normally, the communication's been shit, so you've got an in straight away. And if you're really struggling to get listings, do a low fee to get some stock on the market, or do it for free. I went in.
Sorry, go on, finish.
Well, I went in at the start. I managed to get 1% on the first few listings, but I would have done it for free. I would have happily done it for free to get 3 or 4 on the market.
Yeah,
and it was because I had borrowed some money to be able to start my business. So I think a lot of people try and do it on a shoestring. You need some cash to invest to be able to go and get listings
and social proof.
And social proof, of course, yeah. But to generate
listings,
you've got to be able to go and generate some listings. If you've got to go do it for free, do it for free. But don't then skimp on the marketing that you do. Do pro photos, do Twilight, do video, do a brochure, do everything possible. Pay for it yourself. Show them how good you are. And also pester guys. I used to go and pester. I mean, I still do pester. If there's something you really, really want, pester them. Show them that you really want it. Because Uncle Dickhead estate agent down the road will not be doing that. They will not be doing that. They'll sit on their arse because they've got 400 houses to sell and they don't care about the client. So you go and show that client that you really, really.
So my name's Mark Worrell. We've got a business called Moving Works in the Northwest. At the top end of the market, I thought we were doing things quite well. What I've realised today is there's a lot of area for improvement. So we've got a lot of actionable key takeaways. For me, if you want to try and grow a high-end brand, you should be seriously considering this.
So you go and show that client that you really, really want that house to sell. It frustrates me so much when I hear people telling me that they'd love to join TCA, but they haven't got the money. I think, well, you're not doing things properly then. There's something you're not doing right. And as JK said, we've given it all away for free. I mean, we did a complete mini-series on exactly what to do to get to where we are now, and people aren't doing it. And by the way, we started doing it 8 months ago. It's now the end of August. We started doing it in January. So you've had plenty of time to implement, and you've not done. It frustrates me.
Yeah. Can I also just say another tip on door knocking?
Take a breath, Ian. Take a breath.
On door knocking, another tip for you. So if you're not only for people that are for sale and on the market, if you're a new agent, you haven't got sellers, but you also haven't got buyers, right? So you've got no one in your database. So the people that you knock on the door for that are selling their house, also knock on the doors of people that are sold as well. Knock on the sold board and say, hey, I'm an estate agent. See your house is sold. That's great news. Have you found somewhere to buy? Can I help you find somewhere to buy? And people were like, it almost throws them off because they want to say, oh, piss off, we've already sold. But then you've also then potentially got a hot buyer in the market where a lot of sellers can't sell, and you can match people to houses. There might be, what are you looking for? Oh, I'm looking up to 1.2. You could use that in a letter because it's a real person. Then you can also, when you door knock those houses, go on Rightmove, see what's on the market. Is it overpriced by 200 grand? Could you show this buyer around at 1.2 that's just sold their house that won't view that at 1.4? When you knock on the door of the 1.4 house and you have a conversation, see you're on at 1.4, what's your expectations? Could I bring it? I've got a buyer that's just sold their house and I've got 1.2. Is it worth bringing them round? All of a sudden, you start having a conversation with people and it's got substance behind it. It's not bullshit, as you said, Ian. You've not got a valuation around the corner. It's real stuff, and people can smell, lies and bullshit basically when you say it.
Yes, I agree with all that. And JK, you're right in what you're saying. And if people want to find out any more about how we did it and any other tips and tricks, they can go back and listen to the mini series at the start of the podcast where we told them all of this for free. My frustration, Dave, and I'm sorry for getting wound up, but my frustration is that people just don't do it. They want the listings and they want the success, but they don't do the work at the start. Or they go into it with a false expectation of what's going to happen if you don't put the time and the money. You need to have some money behind you really to start it and to get it to the level you want it to be. Go and borrow the money. If you believe in yourself and you're good enough, go and borrow the money. It can be done whether you add it to
money.
house,
you got options.
Loan. family. There's loads of different options for going and borrowing the cash, but you need some cash behind you to be able to go and do it. Like the three of us say regularly, don't we? We wish we'd started sending our letter content when we started our companies.
Shall we give it away? So the guys, the secret to getting into the mid to high end and absolutely smashing it is sending consistent direct mail to get through those doors.
Yeah, but not generic from Spectre that everyone sends.
No, not single page bullshit like we can sell your house. Oh, welcome to the market. I see you've reduced the price of your house. How long should no one cares. Everyone else is sending those through the door. What you need to send is data-driven, valuable content that people want to read. People don't want to read and don't want to see that they've made the wrong decision by instructing Uncle Dickhead estate agents down the road. No. They don't want to see that they've made a mistake or, this might be happening. That, fear doesn't sell when it comes to that. All you do is just lose your own credibility. They want to know what's happening in the market. They need educational content and they need to see that you are the authority.
Yeah, so you can try and write that yourself if you want, which is fine. Give it a go. Feel free. But, or you could work with a company. We're one of them. There are others. You can work with a company where we can give you the fast track to that to get you there much, much quicker. Much, much quicker.
Oh, but you have to do it. That's the thing. And that's why you have to put the investment into it. Because the reality of it is, it's not cheap to do, if you're going to do it consistently for at least a year, 12 months, 24 months.
You need to send 5,000. We send 5,000. Dave sends 7.5. JK sends 10,000. Yeah. So you need to commit to doing it. Otherwise, you will not get the rewards off the back of it. Do you know what? I'm wound up by it because I know I've done this through trial and error for I've been self-employed now for 18 years. I was 25 when I started my first estate agency. And I bloody wish that then there'd been someone like us there for me to say, do this, and it'll get you there much quicker. I had to do trial and error for the best part of 15 years to get anywhere near where we are now. Yeah. Went through companies that nearly failed, tried so many different ways of getting there. But there's a quicker way. There's a more direct way of doing it, and we can help. And we're not the only company that does this, are we? I'm not suggesting
we're not, but also, can I just say that we are fast-tracking people for the benefit of our own mistakes. When I first set up James Kendall Estate Agents, the branding was absolutely dreadful. I was going after the lower end of the market. I spent probably 8 hours a day door knocking people and walking around posting leaflets through doors. I nearly went bust in the first year. And it's not easy, but we can give you a head start and probably save you some money and help. It sounds like one big advert, this episode, but it's not. It's just frustration.
Well, JK, the key thing for me is that what we're saying is we're not the only supplier. No. It's true. Obviously, we think we're the best. We know we're the best, but we're not the only one. So people don't have to use TCA. They can use a number of suppliers. The point is they need to execute, don't they? And
can I just say, though, on suppliers, because there's lots of suppliers in the industry and everyone offers something slightly different. When you're setting up on your own self-employed estate agency, you don't need to know how to structure your business. No. You don't need to be a CEO. You don't need to have that structure in place. What you need is to sell houses because your business is a estate agency in selling houses, and that's across all different industries. If your business is construction, you don't need to know how to structure your business. You need to go and get jobs and build houses. When you get to a certain level, in order for you to grow, and don't get me wrong, start from a good place, but at the same time, that isn't, you could sit there and be, and have all this structure in place. But if you haven't got any money coming in, you haven't got a business to structure anyway. So, you've got to do the hard yards in the beginning. So I think we're also a little bit of a rant because it's something.
I was going to say we're 20 minutes in. I think there's been a 15-minute Ian Storey rant.
Yeah.
So let's try and gravitate back towards how can we help people. So because obviously we've already been down this route, and as Ian's quite rightly said, we've done a mini series on this, and it's not. I don't think it's as simple as just waking up one day and deciding that you want to be self-employed. A self-employed estate agent. You certainly need to have a plan. And I think quite rightly, Ian, as you've said, you do need a level of investment. You know, you need to have a decent website, because ultimately when you knock on doors or you send some direct mail, the first thing they're going to do is check you out. So you want a good Facebook page, you want your website to be on point. And then once you get started, like you said, you don't want to be winning that listing and then just doing a crappy video on your mobile phone. And I don't want to disrespect that, because there is a place for it. You know, we do, as you know, the mini reels and things like that, but it never forms part of the main source of marketing. You know, it's got to be proper. I had a meeting with our videographer yesterday, and we're talking about some other things that maybe we can add to our offering. And you know, we both agree. Like, I always say to my clients that you've got the reels that we do, the speedy walkthrough reels that have got music playing over the top of them. They get enormous reach on the likes of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, when you've got all the hashtags with them, and it's a different demographic, different audience looking at it, and they're constantly running in the background. But the full cinematic tour, more often than not, that's going to be picked up on Rightmove in the right space. So if someone is watching that video on Rightmove and it's linked to YouTube, the likelihood is they're interested in the property and they want to see more. So that's where you want to really showcase what you do. But anyway, that's fast forwarding. I think obviously you are going to need a level of investment. I think you do need to go back. How do we look? Set up the website, etc. And then ultimately, you know, this job it's about hustle. You know, you've just mentioned there, you don't start the business being a CEO, and the majority of people that I meet just want to be great estate agents. You know, they want to get off the ground, get that first few listings, and once you get that first few listings and get them over the line, you've then got your social proof, and you need to go and advertise the shit out of it to say that that's what you've done and that's how good you are. You need to put yourself out there on social media. And I think if you're not getting negative reactions sometimes on social media, you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah, that's
you need to engage people so that you can then educate them and show that you know what you're talking about. So there's various different ways, guys. And I think what might be helpful for someone listening to this, if they are thinking of going startup or they are currently struggling, is, you know, what order do you do things in? So I'm taking myself back now 8 years when we first started, and we've already quite rightly said, if I knew then what I know now, I would 100% stop everything and just start sending letters, direct mail, every single quarter in bulk. And I would just invest most of my budget into that. That's genuinely what I would do.
Why?
Well, I'll give you some stats for this year. So before we came on, I've not done the pound notes, but you can work it out given our average fee. So this year we have booked 115. We've been to 115 properties, and 60% of ours we can attribute to direct mail.
Yeah.
At least we can attribute to that. It could be more because of the marketing mix. We have social media, obviously, where we're front facing all the time. Of course, you get boards, you get recommendations, and when you go out to do viewings, you get people piggybacking on that, don't you, with house to sells.
Yeah.
So direct mail, without question, will open doors for you. I will quickly tell the story of my valuation the other day. It's not even a proper valuation, actually, but it was just a very, very good contact, and I put it in our TCA group the other day. But I sent a buyer letter. Actually, that's another thing you can do. But I sent a buyer letter to about 100 houses earlier in the year, and they were all obviously for higher value homes, targeted campaign. And one of the guys that responded, lovely fella, rang up and he said, "Look, I'm not really looking to sell, but if I got made the right offer, I think I've got the right type of house that your client might like." He said, "I don't want to do anything with it publicly at the moment because it's quite a high profile house and I'll just get loads of people coming looking at it." I said, "Okay, tell me a little bit more." And basically, he'd featured on Grand Designs, so he's built the whole thing, and it's a great house, probably worth a couple of million. And it turned out that this house wasn't right for my buyer. So that was that. So we parted company at the time. I said, "Look, really sorry, not right for my buyer, but thanks for getting in touch. I've got your details. Whenever you are ready, I've been thinking about selling. Just get in touch with me." He said, "Yeah, absolutely, Dave, I will. Thanks very much." That was it. Anyway, he rang me last week and he said, "My friend's got a commercial unit and he's been trying to sell it for 18 months, but I think there's an opportunity with the land with it to turn it into residential and maybe sell it off with planning permission, stuff like that. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but would you mind coming up and meeting us?" I said, "Yeah, of course I will. It's only 10 minutes from my house." I said, "Of course I will. Come and meet you." So I went and met him on Tuesday evening, he introduced me to his friend, and he introduced me by saying, "This is Dave. We've never met, but I trust him implicitly. He's been writing to me for the last 6 months, and I agree with everything he says. So I just wanted to introduce you, and after today, I'll let you crack on together." And the meeting lasted an hour. It was an amazing meeting. I'm almost certain I'm going to get the Grand Designs house to sell when the time comes, but he almost wants to do things together as well now. It was just a great meeting. So they trust me. That's the thing. They trust me because I'm writing to them every quarter with relevant data to the market, and they pick up the phone and then they see what I'm all about. So the letter kind of will get you through the door. It's up to you then what you do with it. Obviously,
there's no more surrounding it. Yeah, you can't just do the letters. No,
yeah, if you're not good in the room.
No, and as part of the mini-series, we went through the marketing mix, didn't we? There's loads that goes into it, but ultimately, the letters definitely set you apart from other estate agents.
100%. I mean, to be honest, what I will do is probably go through my numbers, because I can attribute so much of it to direct mail, and that would be my passionate sort of plea with anyone. I would be saying, if you are thinking about starting, certainly mid to higher end, and you want the key to unlocking doors, direct mail is it. You've just got to do it in bulk, and you've got to.
However, Dave, yeah, that is true, obviously, and I wish I'd done that 18 years ago. However, you also need a house to sell now, don't you?
You do.
And don't necessarily give you that immediate. I mean, we do get instant success, but part of the reason we get instant success is because of all of our additional stuff, like they see us on social, they see us on Rightmove, boards.
Right. So the point I would make there, Ian, right, is you're right. The point I would make is, let's just say you wake up on a Monday morning, you've no job, you've decided you're becoming a self-employed estate agent, you've no income. What do you do? So what I'm not saying is you write a letter, send it to 7,500 houses and sit back and wait. You can't just do that. But you've got a full week, so you've got to be very proactive. So I would write an incredible letter. I would get someone to write that for you. I would arrange to start writing my addresses and get them stamped. I would arrange to get them all sent out in bulk, not just drip fed. Get them sent out in bulk. I would be knocking on doors immediately. So go and target the type of homes that you want immediately. I would be all over social media and engaging with people on social media. These are the things that you can do every day. But it is a wider marketing mix. But what I can say is that I think if you go back to that mini series and get yourself set up for success. So if your website looks the part when someone lands on it, and again, one of the challenges that people have is, I've not got any houses to sell. I haven't got any twilight shops. I haven't got any professional. Listen, there's loads of things out there. My website, when I first started, had some incredible houses on it that I had never told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or go and ask a family friend, or if you've got a friend with a nice house, or go and ask them that you can photograph it and use that to promote the quality of your market. There's so many things you can do, and the mini-series.
With direct mail, guys, you can always mix and combine those bits together. So, like, if there's houses on the market and you're doing like quarterly market updates, it gives you something to talk about on the doorstep. Knock on the door, they don't answer, post it through the door, and then next time you go back to the house, you can go, "Hi, it's James from James Kendall. Posting my quarterly market update through the door. How's your house sale going?"
You could take the quarterly update and hand deliver it, couldn't you, to houses on the market?
Yeah. And if they're not there, pop it through the door and then go back. Then you can go back, when you another time when you knock it in the area. But the bottom line is, you need to get some houses. I think a lot of people focus on the wrong areas as well. They think, I need a website, I need this, I need that. I think you need social media. I think that is important. Get your LinkedIn, get your Instagram, get your TikTok, get your Facebook, getting set up and ready to go, and post your content there. But I think you can just get a landing page website quite easily. Very simple. You don't need the bells and whistles. You don't need to spend $3,500 on a website.
Not initially.
No, and again, I'll give a quick shout out to Alex at EA Apps, because I think he's brilliant for that. To get going, if you want a really good looking website on a template, I think he's the best out there for that. And I know he does bespoke ones as well, but in terms of the template ones, I've not seen many better for estate agency. He specialises in estate agency websites, and they are really good value. You're talking a monthly subscription there, so you're not spending out like 10 grand for your website.
No,
you're talking a few hundred just to get going. So there is stuff you can do, and I think that's a really good point. you need to. Somebody asked a question in our group this week about the letter going out and they're going into a new area and wanting to introduce themselves. And I think sometimes you can overthink that. You could start saying, "Well, I'm David Wobson, and this is what I do," and try and be clever with your advert. But I was saying in that, just keep it brief. I'm an estate agent. I've been doing this for a long time.
It's not about you. It's about them and the market.
Exactly that. I've been doing this for such a long time. You might not have heard of me yet. That's fine. You will. But let your letter and your social media content do the talking.
Yeah.
Just it won't happen overnight because you've got to build that trust. So just because you're saying I'm a brand new agent to the area and I might do you a fee deal, doesn't mean they're going to use you. You've got to earn their trust. And this is why, again, Ian's point right at the beginning when he had the passionate rant about needing to put some money into it stands because you're going to have to carry yourself a little bit until you get to this point. And ultimately you are going to need that first 1, 2, 3 listings to give you that social proof. But things like, just going back to my point on the website, when I first set up the new website and I didn't have any amazing twilight shots and wide angles and incredible videos, you can find it. I mean, we've spoken about this on with the TCA members, and I think all 3 of us have offered to allow people to use our photographs if they needed to, because they're in a non-compete area. So there are things that you can do to showcase what you do without actually having done it before, for sure. So that I think is very important. Ian, what are you doing? Sorry.
7-year-old firing a bow and arrow at me.
Okay, great. So, yeah, look, I think going back to it, there's certainly things you can do, but you've got to plan your week, haven't you? You're a self-employed agent. You've not got much going on. I remember, again, back in 2016 when we started, the likes of, we used a lot of instant valuation tools and things like that when they first came out because they were really strong, those. And at the time, we were going out delivering, A5 leaflets that were really cool. They looked really good, but we were hand delivering, dropping canvassing houses, A5 cards saying book a free valuation. And we were doing them thousands and thousands and thousands at a time. But what was the quickest way to get thousands and thousands and thousands of them out? It was to put them through terraced houses. And then what was that going to attract? First-time buyers of terraced houses. It's not a great way to build, So
I was going to say, Dave, and jump in there and just say that, that strategy works if you want to work in the low end.
Yeah, exactly.
So spray and pray. Look at your return on investment. You're putting 10,000 leaflets out for an online valuation. How much is that going to cost you? And what return do you expect to receive? If you want the low end of the market, this isn't the podcast for you. There are other ones out there. We are mid to high end. We've made the mistake of working in the low end of the market, high volume, fixed fees, and there's agents around me, very successful agents around me, and they run good businesses. There's plenty of people in the industry that run high volume, low fee outfits, and that are very successful. But it's not for me, And you fall into 2 camps. Do you want to sell the mid to high end, where you sell less, you do more? In my opinion, you meet more interesting people, you see more interesting houses, you have more interesting conversations. And I just think that end of the market massively appeals to me personally because, I like meeting other entrepreneurs. I met a guy yesterday who worked in, again, this is going back to letters. It was a textbook, not on the market letter valuation, where he'd had my letters for the past year and they're all sat on the table in front, on the coffee table. I'm the only agent going in. The house is probably 1.25-ish. And a relatively straightforward sale. It's a road where people want to live. Massive plot. Every time they come up there, they sell in a week. And it's money banked. And that is all through. And they said to me, interestingly, they haven't sold for 20 years. And they said, the agents generally in the village had been 1 or 2. And they just noticed that I, as in James Kendall Estate Agents, started to sell quite a lot in the village. And they asked me why that was, and I said, well, it's a combination of things. I said, it's being good at what you do. I said, but B, it's keeping the market abreast of what's happening. These quarterly updates that go out every quarter without fail educate the market. Nobody else is educating the market. Everyone else is just doing leaflets or postcards or keeping their mic on mute. That's the best.
I was just saying, a lot of agents are just doing nothing. So
yes.
the really established agents around you were probably doing nothing. That's what I find. I don't. You get a lot of the corporates who do all the bulk, mail outs. But I find that a lot of the more independent ones around us that are established don't do anything because they trade on their name. They charge 1%. The service is shit, or less. The marketing is all right. Some of them are okay, some of them aren't, and they just trade on the name because they've been there so long. So, generally speaking, in most areas, there's a massive opportunity.
Oh, there is
unity.
Yeah, there is.
I just say that I think our members, maybe again, just off the top of my head, I think our members fall into three different camps. I think you've got self-employed agents that are starting out on their own. You've got very successful letting agencies that want to get into mid to high-end sales. So very successful businesses have got great business, already running in the background, but want to kind of transfer that into sales. And you've also got, high-level, what I would say really successful estate agency businesses already that just want to double down on what they've already got.
Yeah.
And they recognise that, whilst they're incredibly good at what they do and they already run successful businesses, that they just want to double down on that mid to high end of the market and accelerate what they're doing, which is exactly what I did. Before we started TCA, and I was looking at, I've done various training programs and things in the industry, and I was already a successful agent. I was already doing a lot of mid to high end. I just, I was open to learning, and I just wanted to basically improve and double down on what I was doing, and that's what I did. You figure out quite quickly what a lot of the most successful agents are doing, and those that are consistently getting through the doors and how they're doing it are just sharing the knowledge. And I think that is a big part of what we do.
I think that's actually a great point. Actually, the latter bit there, where you just improving your knowledge, JK. That's another thing, isn't it? You've got to always be learning in this industry, I think, because there's people out there doing great things, and I think you can do worse by following some of the people that have been successful in the industry.
Lads, I learn stuff every week from you two. I've been doing it for 20 years, and I learn stuff every week from you two. Just doing this podcast is so good. So, there's definitely always room, no matter how successful you are, there's always room to learn. But the best way to do that is to learn from other people, isn't it? Because that, success leaves clues, doesn't it?
Massively.
Yeah, it does. It does. And like I say, I think, we always say go back to the mini-series because that basically is it. That it's then about implementation, isn't it? You've just got to show up and do it every single day. There's no silver bullet, as we say.
Can I give you the benefit, just going back to partner agencies really quickly, and I think this will be relevant not just to people in self-employed roles, but in business in general, and where agents, so again, a 50-50 success ratio, where my guys that were in partner agency have been successful is that, again, just going back to what you said earlier on, Ian, like Rich in the beginning, doing fee deals and, selling a couple of houses that, maybe weren't totally on brand, taking them off of other agents, stripping it all back, staging it, making sure it looks good, like supercharging the marketing, getting that on board, doubling down on that, telling everyone on social media what you've sold and how you've done it. Richard walked onto new build sites when he first started out. He'd literally been doing it like 3 weeks. And the great thing about Rich is he's got no preconceived ideas of what an estate agent should or shouldn't do. I said to him, just walk up and introduce yourself. And so he literally, to be fair, I said that. He pretty much did it off his own back. So he walked onto this new build site around the corner from his house. Said, I'm Richard, I'm an estate agent. Just so happened the developer was on site. And, Rich obviously had massively bought into what we did in terms of video and the way we market. And he goes, if you're going to market these houses in this village, you really need video, blah, blah. The guy was like, look, we've already got 2 agents on the site. Rich was like, come on, just give us a chance. Let me anyway, he talked his way into it.
Hustle.
He did, yeah. He did. And he ended up selling 7 out of the 8 new builds on the site. Yeah. Again, it's a bit of a contentious scenario. We actually sold 8, but that's a story for another time. But we got business off the back of those. So that they were mid-range executive homes, stone-built executive homes, beautifully presented. And the agents that were marketing them had literally just had the CGIs on Rightmove for months. Whereas I was going up there with Rich every week. Again, this is going back 6 years ago now. But we had the iPhone, the gimbal. We had no mic because you don't know what you don't know at the time. And we were just going on site and doing Facebook Lives. We were doing video tours of all the houses while they were being constructed. And what it did was it built massive SEO on Google because people were searching houses for sale in that area and they were coming up. But also, Rich was posting them all into the local Facebook groups. So people that had driven past, we got all the boards up outside, and it just went from there on. And then people in the village who had their houses up for sale, he was knocking on the door saying, "I am Rich." Because, "Oh yeah, we've seen your boards, we've seen your videos," and it's that marketing mix. This is just one part of it, guys. But this is getting started, putting yourself out there, having the conversations, because the 2 partner agents, that have failed in my business, neither of them had experience either. But I think they both looked at Rich because they both came through as a result of dealing with Rich. And they both looked at Rich and went, "Well, he just does a couple of videos and says, let's just get this property sold on Facebook." But that's not it. The guy is responding to emails at 8 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, doing viewings on Sunday. You don't have to do that. But if you want to be a successful business,
you should do that, shouldn't you?
I think the thing is, I'm not going to
do it. You won't get the same success, JK. We all did
correct.
That.
However, I just want to caveat that and say you don't need to do viewings on Sunday at 6 once you're established to be successful. However, in the beginning, as you're about to allude to, and you rightly said a minute ago, you do need to hustle. So if you need to do a viewing on Sunday at 6 in the beginning, or take a phone call from somebody at 8 o'clock at night on a Sunday that's called you as a result of a letter or a door knock, then absolutely, that's what.
And I used to do it. I mean, I still do it now, really, but I used to do it abnormally out of hours to make a point.
Yes.
So I would be WhatsApping people at 6 a.m. and some people would say, "Bloody hell, don't do that. You'll piss them off because you'll wake them up." And I think, don't care. I hope I do.
Right.
Because it'll make them think, Jesus, he's different. He is.
Are you memorable?
Be memorable. Do something that the others aren't doing. Maybe that was an extreme example, but you understand.
Even in life, though, be memorable. How many times have you been to like a party or a barbecue or someone, and someone goes, "Oh, do you remember?"
For all the wrong reasons, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hey, Steve. Nah, no.
Is that the guy that threw up all over my wedding?
Yeah.
And that happened to me once.
But that's the thing. You're memorable for whatever reason, for having a personality, having an opinion.
There's a guy in a restaurant we go to. There's an Indian restaurant we go to near us, and this waiter, he is memorable for the wrong reasons. But you need to be memorable for the right reasons. And it does stick in your mind, doesn't it? Definitely sticks in your mind if you're different and you do something different to other people. It's hugely.
So where the others have gone wrong is that, again, they've just assumed, and again, I think a lot of people do this, and again, some of the people we spoke to do this where they go, "Well, I've sent a couple of letters, off various prop tech platforms, and nothing's quite happened." And then I'd speak to some of these partner agents and had them in the office because, again, they had no experience. "Oh, do we have to come in the office?" Yeah, you need to get experience and learn how this process works. Like Rich basically sat in my office for 6 months at the beginning, unpaid, just answering the phone, learning how a estate agency works, listening to the kind of calls that come in, just generally seeing how you be an agent, and if you've got no experience, then you do need to get experience. You can't, estate agency might look easy from the outside, but you can't just, yes, you can. There are certain places that will allow you to just sign up and be an agent tomorrow. But to be a successful agent, you need experience. And, a lot of agents in the industry that, have been successful. If I had my time again, and bear in mind that we all come from different places, I didn't have any money whatsoever. I borrowed shed loads of money to start my business on a credit card. I had a car that only one door open. I used to have to park around the corner. I had an awful laptop. Honestly, I had no clue and no money. So, if I was starting again now, I think I would probably look at one of the self-employed models to get going. I think my ultimate goal, probably long-term, would be to set up my own agency. I think I would probably use one of the self-employed models as a stepping stone if I was doing it on a budget. Because, the last thing you need, if you haven't got any houses on the market, is £1,800 a month coming out of your bank for Rightmove, X amount a month coming out from this. So, I might be tempted to go for like an EXP, or, there's other mid to high level stuff. You've got, the avocado guys, you've got the Avenue people, you've got the agency. There's so many different self-employed models that you could be a part of. Find a country, for example, as well, by design. There's all these different models you can go into. Some of them, though, however, if you're an experienced agent, you need experience to be able to join. And I think they are a great stepping stone to the self-employed world. Some of the best agents I know are part of like places like EXP, or Avenue, or whatever. They're self-employed agents, and they're using that platform again to get some money behind them. You could be a part of, as I say, use EXP as an example, because I know like 4, 5, 6 different agents that are using EXP, all really successful, that are using the platform. Some of them will stay there long term because they've got the feeder thing where you bring other agents on and that pays you, and good luck to them. But use that as a stepping stone to stick some real cash in the bank and get used to being a self-employed agency. And there's people that have done that have then left and set up their own business. But, it's all about taking the right route and doing the hard yards. A good friend of mine, Tanya Baker, she's done it. She worked at brokerages. She's done 2 brokerages, and now she's set up on her own. She's got her own business. And she's done probably a similar thing, stuck some good money behind her, learned, how to step into that, self-employed world from a corporate career. And, she's absolutely killing it. So it's, it's easy to jump into mistakes, and it's easy to think that it's easy to be an estate agency self-employed owner if you're coming from being a lister valuer where all the valuations are served to you on a plate on a weekly basis, and then having to don that new hat where nobody knows who you are and get the phone to ring. You need to be able to get in front of people that are selling their homes, and whether you do that by direct mail, which we recommend, but as Ian said right at the start of the pod, you need to get yourself out there on social media, but then also get yourself knocking on the doors of people that are selling their houses.
But the right houses as well, JK. So, again, you don't want to be... I think one of the tough decisions that people have to make is the type of house that take on as well. If somebody... if you're going to go after the mid to high end, but then somebody offers you a 2-bed flat, you've got to be careful, I think, what you become known for. Hence why we've discussed many times on this podcast brand split and things like that, because as you know, I've got the Resi brand, and
I think I would go back. I'd push back slightly on that. If you're setting your own business up fresh, then absolutely correct. I think, however, if you're under like an EXP banner, I think you can afford to do the odd, like not lower end.
I disagree that. I do. Yeah, I think
I think it disappear on Rightmove. You don't have to put it on your website. I think you could put that on the website and it just says EXP. Because the thing is, with not trying to bash EXP because I've just picked them up, but it's such a big thing that even if you are going out there as the EXP agent that's selling high-end homes, you could list under that name a £2.5 million house. So then somebody in Hull could list a 2-bedroom terrace at 40 grand.
Yeah, but that's where your personal brand comes in, doesn't it?
That's right. That's what I'm saying. So, if you need money behind you, then, if somebody offers you an opportunity, I wouldn't go out and look for it. But if somebody offered you an opportunity to earn 4 or 5 grand and you've got no money.
I see what you're saying. I mean, obviously, I think there's other ways when you're in a network like that. You could partner up with someone and let them sell it and just take a cut, whatever. But I think I'm a believer now, particularly with what we do. You've got to try and sell homes that you want to be known for.
Yes.
And I think that, I mean, again, it's easier when you're starting out. You can just immediately go and target the ones that you really, really want. And it's just persistence. And again, going back to Ian's passionate rant at the start, this is why I think it'll, as we come to the end of the pod, you do need, ultimately you are going to need a level of investment. And if you don't have it, you need to somehow find it, whether you borrow it, whether you get a side job, whether you go back to work for 12 months to save up, whatever it is, it will stand you in good stead. And I think you need it really properly to succeed. Certainly, in all ends of the market, because we've all had it, but certainly at this end of the market as well.
Yeah, if you're setting up your own agency, sorry, I could say it just quickly, Ian, because if you're setting up your own agency, then absolutely mid to high end, that's what you should take on. I think if you're able to disappear into the abyss by, using one of the self-employed models to get yourself off the ground, somebody comes to you, a friend or family friend, to put some, if you've got no money and you're starting on a shoestring, like Ian said earlier, then you need to build up. If you haven't got any money, you need to find the money, or, look at other ways.
Have a job and do it, and save up, and then start in a year.
Yeah, but the bottom line is you need money.
You definitely need money, because if you don't, you'll start, what you'll be tempted to do is sell lower end stuff just to bring in the money, to bring in some money, and then that just perpetuates, doesn't it? And it just leads to even more low end stuff, and then the mid to higher end stuff won't touch you. They won't come and deal with you.
That's why you need a brand. That's why I'm splitting my brand, because I've got a very successful lower to mid end. I mean, we don't do a lot of lows. I mean, we even get people now that ring us up and say, "Do you sell our house? Like, would you sell our house?"
Yeah,
and it's like, well, which is great, great for brand positioning. But at the same time, we've got a really good core community-led business that, would sell like 400 or 500 grand houses in my area. And, you turn them over, like you alluded to in other podcasts, and you say it all the time. That the 500 to a mil, that's where the gold is, because that's the stuff that constantly churns and moves. Mm-hmm. It's great to, swing your cock on social media and show people that, your £1.5 million, £2 million house.
They're a lot harder to sell, aren't they? And by the way, the gold between 500 and mil is at 2%.
Yeah.
The gold between 500 and mil, 1% isn't gold.
No,
because you've got to sell twice as many.
That's right. Yeah.
So and that's when you become a high volume, low service company.
But like this month, classic example. Place we've got 800 grand, 2% fee, like 16 grand in your pipe, like job done, happy days. And you stick a few of them. Going from being, and again, you alluded to it at the start of the podcast, Dave, when you just had your low end resi brand, to do 16 grand would probably be 8 sales for you in the beginning.
Yeah.
And for me, if not more.
JK, when we started out, that would have been 16 sales.
Yeah.
Which would have been about, that would have been 16 completions, which would have been about 20 sales.
Yeah.
Which would probably have been about 30 instructions or 25 instructions, which would have meant we needed to go to the best part of 35 to 40 vowels. So you can imagine how many A5 leaflets we were posting on a daily basis, and how many instant valuation tools we were doing for £999 fees.
Yeah.
I can tell you now from the experience that I've had, it's a horrible place to be.
Yeah.
It's exciting at first.
Yeah.
But we absolutely hemorrhaged money, and I think obviously, like I said, knowing what I know now, I would have done it completely differently, and I would have spent an absolute fraction of the cost that I actually spent in the early days to make it a success. And I think that's why you're getting so passionate, Ian. You do need some money behind you. Probably, I guess the number would be like, if you're going into it with your eyes closed, the number might make you go, wow, that seems like a lot, but it's not as much as some would perhaps think you need. If you do it properly, because your personal brand, if you do it consistently, can take you a long way. But your investment into things like to direct mail, obviously it's not just a letter. You've then got to pay for stamps, and you've got to invest time in writing envelopes and buying envelopes. So it's an investment. There's no getting around it. If you're going to be sending out between 5,000 and 10,000 a month, a quarter, you can do the maths. Of a second class stamp and the cost of the envelope, things like that. So it's not going to be necessarily cheap, but I promise you, the return on investment will be well worth it. Our average fee now is just under £12,000, and we're going. We're going back. That's on our higher end brand. Going back 4 years, 4 years, it was under 3,000.
Yeah.
So you can literally change your life by doing it, but you've just got to do it. You've just got to do it right. But like you've said, Ian, there has to be a level of investment and reality. But for me,
hustle, Dave, at the start. You need both. You need the money to be able to start to build that you've just explained very well, and you need to go and knock on some doors and get in front of some people.
You do. Be authentic, but equally, let's not be around the bush here, because I've met many agents over the years who just, to be quite honest, are not cut out for it, or they lack the knowledge, and I think that you need to go and get that. So I've said to some people in the past, I think you probably need 6 to 12 months behind the desk.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is go and learn the ins and outs, understand what it takes to get a property from the point of offer through to completion, and what the pitfalls and hurdles are that you'll experience along that journey. Go and deal with the complaints. Go and deal with the battles between buyers and sellers. It gives you those extra layers of skin that you need and the knowledge that you need. Because the reality is, when you go out and meet clients in their houses, they don't know. A lot of the time, they just don't know. And we take for granted that we do this job every day. And obviously now 15, 20 years of experience, it just comes naturally to us. But for every person you meet in the living room, usually it's an educational process. So if you genuinely don't know, then you'll lose that authenticity and they won't want to deal with you. And I think I had a meeting this week, evaluation, and it's one that I've won. And the lady just said to me, she signed up on the day. She said, I'm going to go with you. She's had 2 agents before me who'd all said the same sort of number, so they got the valuation right. I was the most expensive, but she said that I really like your laid back approach. And I said, okay, what do you mean by that? She said, well, you clearly know what you're talking about and you're just telling me as it is. She said that one of the agents in particular is quite a pushy, salesy type person, saying how many buyers he'd got, this, that, and the other. And I'd sort of got in just sort of saying, look, it's nonsense. If they've got buyers, they can bring them round, but just saying that there is no silver bullet here. What we need to do is to get your marketing right. It needs to be done in a certain way. It needs to be advertised in all these particular areas. And we need to communicate with you regularly so that you can make informed decisions, etc., etc. She asked me lots of questions about the process because she'd not done it for a long time, and I was able to answer all her questions. And at the end of the meeting, she just felt very, very comfortable because it was authentic. There's no point pretending that there is some sort of magic formula to getting the house sold. You've got to do certain things very, very well. And communication is a certain part of it. But as I've said many times on this podcast, we can't control the market. And she just got it. And that comes, I think, from experience. And I've been there, obviously, where I've tried this. You've tried sales tactics, and you say that you've got a network of buyers. I mean, I used to work for one of the big corporates where the biggest independently owned estate agency in the country. So we've got 300 offices across the country. So therefore, what a great coverage for you that is. We can put you in 300 shop windows. I've been there. It's all bollocks, as we know. But that comes with experience, and you need to go and get it. So I think if you've not got it, then sometimes you need to say to people, maybe 6 to 12 months behind the desk won't do you any harm. I don't think you should be necessarily going out valuing houses just yet. I think you should go and educate yourself. I think there's loads of great courses that you can go on, people that you can follow, really get to grips with the industry and learn it more before you dive in and spend your hard-earned savings on trying to become a self-employed agent or an independent.
The reason I get frustrated and wound up is because I know that we can help these people. You look at the people who actually committed to us and become a member of the TCA. A lot of them, obviously, we've got, as JK says, we've got different types of members: experienced, less experienced, and the ones who've got less experience, they're so grateful for the help and support that we're giving them. We can really help these people with all these challenges, and they're in a private WhatsApp group, and they can just speak to us directly. We've got our mastermind in 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks, where we all sit in a room and we tell people exactly what they need to do to get to where we are. We can really, really help. And I really believe that for $497 a month, we are cheap with what we offer people. And that's why I get wound up and frustrated, because I know that it can be done. If you do what we say, it can be done.
I agree.
Sorry for getting wound up, everyone, but it really does, because I love the industry so much, and I know that if you're the right type of person, you can really create a very successful business and have a really very good lifestyle.
You've done it yourself.
Because I've done it myself, and so have you two.
Absolutely, just got to make a choice and get it done.
Well, hopefully we've still got some listeners after this podcast.
Ooh,
I see Dave gritting his teeth at some point, going,
yeah. I had to leave the room when Ian was in his rant. Thought he was shouting at me at one point.
Well, the steam has now gone from Ian's ears and mine. So I think is that a good place to call it for this week?
Yeah, I think so.
Then if you're listening, do the work and you can be successful.
And if you are listening and you any of this has resonated with you, or you feel insulted, if you feel insulted, call Ian. If you genuinely want some help and advice, please just get in touch, because we honestly we love this anyway, and we'd love to help you, because we just know we can, having been in this situation.
The other reason, Dave, there's lots of reasons.
Oh my God, I thought we were ending.
Tell me. No, the one I won't get one. The one thing to say is that a lot of people the other reason I get wound up is because I know there's some really good people and really good agents who aren't fulfilling their potential, and that's why it winds me up. And I obviously I would never name any names on the podcast, but there are people who we all know who aren't fulfilling their potential, and they're good agents and they're good people,
really good,
really good, and they would be really good for their clients. It would help the wider community of people in their area to sell houses for more money and have a better experience, but they're not fulfilling their potential. So that's why it frustrates me. I know that they can do it.
Well, it's because they're not. It's because they're not taking that chance and doing it consistently. Yeah, and because they are concerned, and it's like anybody going into something new. There is that level of, I did it when I started sending letters. I was like, you don't get a result from the first quarter, and you think, oh my God, I've just spent thousands and I didn't get a result. But you look at the room in which you're in, and other people that are succeeding with it, who are literally doing so well, and are saying, just trust the process, and it'll come, and then all of a sudden, bang, it comes, and then it snowballs, and it just keeps going and going and going and going. So it's just taking that chance.
You still need to keep going. You still need to do the work.
Absolutely.
I sit here as a man with a six-pack, and you don't go to the gym and for a month and get a six-pack. If you want to keep a six-pack, then you have to maintain it.
I got sent a little meme, which was the 3 C's of life, and I said I was going to claim it, but I'm not going to. But I'm going to write it. And somebody actually said, who was listening, it was actually Kate, who works on our team. She said, "You had the 3 P's. This is the 3 C's." And she actually said to me last week after listening to the pod.
This is a family podcast. I'll just remind you.
It's what?
This is a family podcast.
And it was. I really liked it, and it said the 3 C's of life: choices, chances, changes. And it is, you must make a choice to take a chance, or your life will never change. And I really like that. So, and I think it does resonate, because if you don't make the choice to make a change here, then I think you're just going to carry on the same path, either listing nothing or listing low-end crap that you're just going to keep churning out.
Can I add one more C as well?
No.
Consistency.
Yes. Love that. The 4 C's. There you go, Kate. Thank you for your input this week's podcast. It was very, very well received, as you can see. JK is trying to take over and add one.
Consistency, how many times have we said that word on the last 30 episodes of the podcast? Unbelievable. Consistency across everything you do, marketing, your own company, and also your clients' houses. The other thing I did at the start of the business was turn away stuff that was low end. So that was quite hard, because there were sort of £2 to £5 grand fees that I was turning away. So that was really hard to do earlier on. And then the other thing I did was turn away stock that wasn't priced correctly. So, of course, we should all be doing that anyway, but definitely at the start, because you want to prove to the public that whatever you put on, you sell. And we used to get that comment. We still get it now, generally. God, I see more of your sold balls than any other agent. And earlier on, whatever I put on, I sold. And I think for the first year of business, I sold everything within probably 4 to 6 weeks. And it's because I only took on stuff that was priced really, really well. And that gave me a great rep from the very beginning.
Well, like I say, I do agree with that. And I obviously alluded to it before. I think I do think you need to become known for a certain style. Again, on my mid-range resi brand, listen, I had to have a tough conversation with myself, talked about it in the earlier podcasts, but I just didn't think it suited the higher end world. And clearly, we weren't getting invited out to stuff in excess of like $500,000. Everything we were selling was between 2-bed terrace territory and maybe a 3-4 bed exec home if we were lucky. We were churning out lots of 150 to 250, £300,000 houses in our area at really low fees. And you'd see these houses going on every week with, to be honest, average marketing when I look back, but with the same agents, and we weren't even getting invited out. And it used to frustrate the hell out of me. And thinking, why am I not getting invited out to them? And the reality was, I wasn't showcasing my properties in the way that they perhaps would perceive their house being listed. So I had to think about that. And when we did set up the new brand, I wanted to have a complete break, and it's just been a game changer. And to be quite honest with you, I know that we've got a reputation, obviously, with our residential brand because it's 7 to 8 years old. But honest, the Burton James brand was absolutely brand new. You would not know it has any connection to my other brand at all. So it was like setting up brand new. And the only thing that I have done to promote that business is be consistent on social media and direct mail. That is it.
And you've been consistent on the quality of the marketing of each of those houses.
I've never knocked on a door. Now, no. I'm not saying you shouldn't do. You should. If you have, I have never knocked on a door for Burton James. All I have done is sent direct mail and social media. But the marketing, you're quite right, Ian, is consistent everyone.
The difference there, mate, is that you've had the other brands give you an income, so you've not had Burton didn't have to get going as quickly, did it, for you?
No, it didn't. But it flew very quickly.
I know it did. I'm just saying for people who actually need an income now, you can't. You need to do more than just one thing, don't you? It needs to be a mix of different things. But it's very interesting that you did no door knocking, and you look at the houses you're putting on now.
Yeah, exactly. But you're quite right. I was supported by that. So if you've got a bit of income already, or you've got savings, I'm just saying it can be done. But ultimately, if you're self-employed, you're going through it. You've just got to do a few things consistently well. Door knocking is definitely one of them. We're one of the few industries where our leads are literally sat there in front of you, and you can go and get them. It's not really cold calling. They're right there saying, I want to sell my house because there's a void outside it. Come and help me. Door knocking, direct mail, social media regularly. Those are the 3 things for me. If you're starting out, just get really good at all 3. And then obviously there's a whole host of other things that we've talked about. Go back to the mini-series about how you look and all that. But you've got to be good in the room. And authenticity wins every single time, as well as being knowledgeable. But that's where your letters and everything come in. So anyway, think we're done there. End of the rants, end of the podcast. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I think we've given a few plugs to the TCA this week within that. But please do reach out to myself, Ian, or JK if you're interested in having a further chat. We're always looking for new members. It's postcode exclusivity, so you'll never be working with someone in the same area. We can help you in this space with your direct mail when you're in the room. Everything. We just give you full support on your journey to success, and we would love to talk to you if you're interested in learning more. Anything to add, lads?
No.
Great stuff.
Always good, lads, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening.